We're back here on the bonus round on GT, our last segment this month with Tim, Nathan, and Cliff. Let's talk about the types of games that people are making right now. Titanfall came out a few weeks ago, made a lot of waves with sort of being campaign multiplayer, kind of focusing more on MP. Is the push towards multiplayer or multiple people in a game world, is that something that is going to only increase, do you think, Cliff?
I think, well, it's online connected experience.
Right.
It's not just you play and consume it or just watch one YouTube video, as Tim was saying earlier, right? The saying I always say is there's a direct correlation between how good your game is and how many YouTube videos it can yield.
Right.
Subsequently, multiplayer is a great space for that. But I mean, there's plenty of, you can make a physics-based puzzle game that could yield some interesting things on YouTube in different varieties, right? But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I love multiplayer, but I do kind of miss the kind of playing through the traditional single-player experience. And I think there's a lot of wiggle room for developers in there to make a replayable experience that's single-player with procedural content.
Yeah.
And everyone's waking up to this idea. No Man's Sky. I can't remember what the game was called, where you're downstairs at play at GDC, where you're running from these robots and trying to find these little pieces of a ship to get off the out of the area.
Oh, cool.
And it's somewhat procedural, so it's different every time, which it makes sense.
So
that
you're being hunted?
Yeah, you're being hunted by these robots, and it's rather cool. And so, instead of having to, have 50,000 artists build every single custom thing in the world, make a base set of modular stuff, let the code do it.
That's exactly what we're doing with Below, our next game as well.
Yeah. Right.
So that was a good segue into a plug right there.
Right.
No, but
we want to know more about Below.
Why don't you tell us?
We will be showing a lot more of it very soon. I'm quite excited about that.
What's the future of games below?
It is. But no, I think the connected experience thing is a really amazing part, and it's a very important part. But you're also seeing like the kind of rejuvenation of couch co-op too, of couch multiplayer, of like social multiplayer in games. Also like Samurai Gun. Well, it's amazing to see Titanfall and Towerfall Ascension launch on the same day. The kind of like quintessential new take on first-person online, and then Towerfall, which is like really a throwback to, really tight design but really simple scope multiplayer games that you just sit on a couch with your friends, and it's Towerfall is by far the most popular game in our studio. Every time there's a game night, everyone wants to play it. Everyone yells at each other, and so I think there's like I love seeing games like Samurai Gun doing that. I think it's an amazing kind of, and for me, I'm a massive fighting game fan, and so seeing those correlations between like a Nidhogg, which is in my opinion one of the best games to come out in the last few years, and then what's that?
Nidhogg.
Nidhogg? Am I pronouncing it incorrectly, Tim?
I just wanted to.
Okay.
Keep going.
Nidhogg. Yeah. Between like seeing the differences between the Nidhogg style game and very, kind of like almost like visceral experience with friends, and then being able to see that same type of experience connected, online, consistent, that's a really amazing opportunity, I think, for development of cool multiplayer stuff.
And even if you don't take the lesson from that those specific games are on the rise, it doesn't have to be, it's multiplayer. What I liked about both those examples is that someone was really being smart about what to focus on, and being like, it's okay to focus on the thing that we care about the most, and not have to feel like there's a script for all the features you have to have in the game these days.
Right.
You don't have to, if you really don't want to do a single player campaign, you don't have to. And because that's just part of challenging all conventions, which I think is a really great thing going on now.
Well, I mean, when you go direct to consumer now, it's like you could sit around and argue, as developers love to do, like, do we need crafting in our game?
Right.
Who knows? Put it out there.
Right.
You may be spending good studio funds on putting in a feature that the community doesn't even want or need or demand. So you play Rust and you put it out there, and if it's the bare bone playable game, the community might rally for something that you say, hey, we're thinking about putting this in there. What do you think? We might add horses, and they're like, horses would be amazing. Okay, we're doing horses, and that's just where I think it's going to continue to go in that direction.
And even taking that a step further, I think that players even enjoy having something introduced that might not work and being able to contribute to getting that removed.
Right.
Yeah.
Like seeing like the way, like even something as simple as we always come back to like the reload time of a certain weapon. If you put that in and it doesn't work and you take it out, that is being defined by the players. Yeah. That is, and it's, I mean, that loops around in a lot of ways to like what's happening on every platform now, where more and more, like, why are independent games so important to consoles? Because players demanded it. Why is early access so successful? Because players love being a part of it. Why does everybody, like, a huge part of why your Kickstarter success has happened is because players love to be part of that development. And I think, like, the direct to consumer, all of that ways of getting right to what players actually want, and having, having developers there to almost like not purely service that, but to like, have a vision, but also have people there that are built around listening.
Every time a studio is successful doing that, every time a Kickstarter hits and does well, every time it's something where it's pay for alpha does well, it kind of validates the idea of it, and the consumer gets more and more comfortable with it. Notch knew this years ago, right? He was like, I'm just going to build a cool little game, and if he had pitched that at one of the big publishers, they'd be like, well, traditionally, the building-based genre doesn't sell that well, so we're not going to market it. Like, he would have to deal with all that crap. And he was the guerrilla developer, and he just said, I'm just going to make it, build a community. It's a global phenomenon still. Kids are playing Minecraft Hunger Games all the time now still. It's crazy.
Okay, guys, hold that thought. We're going to be right back here in the bonus round.